Now here we have the side-by-side comparison of a 3-piece carbide die set from Lee and one from Rcbs. One of them reloads the 44 Magnum and one of them reloads the 357 Magnum. In turn, that means they also reload the 44 Special or the 38 Special respectively. These are actual hand loads from each of these dies. Each of these die set works well. If you would like to watch a review that is a little bit more exaggerated, a little bit snarky, and have a little bit more fun with, you're welcome to click on one of the cards that pops up. And most of all, I hope that this helps you to make a better, more educated decision between the purchase of the Rcbs or the Lee. You're not really going to go wrong with either one. You know, I've got a few things on my channel on reloading. I like to have some fun, but for some really high quality content and very good information, check out Stewart County Ballistics. Even if you've been into it for a few years, he's got some tips and some tricks that are great. So check out his channel when you get a chance. The reason I showed you those bullets before showing you these is I doubt that you're going to be able to look at one or the other and be able to determine which die set loaded which bullet. This one or that one are going to do the exact same thing. They're going to both load reliably, shoot accurately, and the end product is great. So if you are staring at the shells and you're trying to figure out one versus the other, either way you're going to be all right. But there's pros and cons to each one of these. So with the Lee set, I find I need to open that with two hands. Okay, it doesn't seem to open with one hand, but check that out. You got their nice little logo emblazoned in the clear plastic. Now the nice part about this, you can see through it. You can exactly see everything that's in there, unless this is there. Now, this manual has some pros and some cons to it. All right, now this manual is printed in color, nice little feature, and it folds out just like a map. It's nice and slick and shiny, has really nice presentation, but it's also very brittle. Okay, you can see around the edges that paper is tearing up a little bit. It has very clear, concise, easy instructions on how to reload right there. It also comes with some load data. That is a very convenient thing. On the Rcbs, you've got their logo emblazoned on that. Everything's clear and concise, just like on the Lee. It's one piece box, and you can open that easily one-handed, which would come into play very, very well if you happen to break your arm while riding a three-wheeler, or if you happen to run into a shark and it bit your arm off in the middle of the wilderness. That's going to be a major plus. Now, the Rcbs, once again, it folds out much like the Lee. It's black and white paper. This paperwork just gives you a much more detailed and in-depth look into the reloading features, setup, and the reloading process. As it does cover a lot more information, it's not going to have any load data. So this one we have better graphics, we have reloading data. It's a little bit more fragile. This one is less fragile. It has a whole lot more data for actually the process of reloading, the process of using setup dies, but it doesn't have the caliber specific information. Here we have the Rcbs Resizing Die. Here we have the resizing die from the Lee. Both of these have the option of depriming as you resize, or you can take out this pin and you can resize alone. Both of these are made from steel on the main body. This one happens to have a steel lock nut. This one has an aluminum lock nut. As you can see, there is a brass set screw that you can lock this into place. On this lock ring, it has a Buna and O-ring that holds it in place by friction. They both have decapping pins right here. This decapping pin on the Lee is one solid piece. It's all machined out of one piece of steel that goes all the way up, and it ends up here. It's just a nice smooth rod that's been narrowed on the one end. And then you have this steel bolt that's been threaded and split so that as it tightens down, it compresses and holds on to this rod. My understanding is that if for some reason the primer pocket hole is obstructed or anything and you can't depress this pin in there, instead of the pin breaking, it's supposed to release through the top right here and leave that so that you don't have any damage to it. It doesn't mean that you can't break that pin, but you have a little bit of added durability built into that, or safety, however you want to look at it. So on the Rcbs, you still have your steel rod with This has threads on it where this one is smooth. But you can take this knurled end here and loosen that up if the pin breaks and just replace the pin alone. Now on this one, in order to set the depth, you just loosen that knurled top there. You spin this down or up and then tighten it. Now if you need to fine tune it, you can adjust that with a flathead screwdriver, then tighten this down a little bit more, and it's going to be nice and firm. But to adjust that, you're going to put a wrench right here on this one. You're going to take another wrench on this, loosen that up, adjust this where you want it to be, and then tighten this back down. There is no option for fine adjustment. My experience tells me generally you don't need fine adjustment on that particular item. Right here on the Lee, you have the nice impression there that tells you can use it for 44 or 44 mag, and I'm not sure what H8 stands for. That's the information you have on this. This is a relatively new set. I don't know, it's a year or two old. On the RCBS, you have marked RCBS 38 357 caliber, full length, 1989. So this die set currently is about 32 years old. Right here you have the carbide sizing ring on the RCBS, and here we have the Lee with its carbide sizing ring. I don't know if you can pick it up, but the machining on this is just a little rougher, and then the machining and placement on this one. Also, this is a much higher polish, and this one's polished, but just not to the same luster that the RCBS is polished to. In actual use, what that equates to is this is slightly easier to size than this one. Dramatic by no means. Now on the exterior finishes, I think they're pretty comparable. They work in any standard press. This has your knurled top on it, where this has your flat spot for a wrench. Now we're moving on to the expander dies right here, and I have to admit that I do have an RCBS steel lock ring placed on this. It is missing the set screw on it, but after you purchase the Lee set, this is going to have that aluminum lock ring. These have the same thread sizes and are interchangeable amongst the different presses that these can go into. Now these two items, I think, are where you're going to see the major differences. Now this RCBS version does not have any markings on it stating what it is, the caliber, or anything like that. The Lee does. Those markings are found right here, just as on the resizing die. You've got a steel body, generally an aluminum lock ring. Got a knurled edge at the top, very nice knurling, nice finish on the exterior of it. And then you've got this aluminum hex with the threads, and it's got a hole drilled through and through just like a donut. This being aluminum and this being steel, not necessarily two compatible metals. This one's much softer, and so in order to get a nice tight fit but still adjustable, so that you can finger tighten this on and get it off easily without any tools, you've got this Buna N O-ring there to create a little bit of extra friction. So that's a necessary feature in order to use that lighter weight, less durable material. Now on the inside of this, you can see that goes through and through as well. Here you have a hardened piece of what appears to be sintered metal, and this is your expander die. There's ever so slightly this incline starting right here that expands the case mouth out so that you can properly seat the bullet. This part's not going to wear out. This piece is not a piece of machined steel. It is molded, but it is never going to wear out. And it has been hardened. I tested it with a file, and so I think this is going to last many, many years to come. So here you're left with a hollow steel body, nice and scooping. On the RCBS, it has the same features as the sizing die. You've got a lock ring here that's knurled top, just like on the Lee, but its system works a little bit different. Now this one does not have a hole through it. It is just a piece of solid machined steel. So here now we're left with, similar to the Lee, just a nice big hollow steel shell. This has a lot finer machining, a little better polish conducted on it, where this one is a duller finish. I can attest to you they both work great. They both do the job just fine. They do the same purpose, but you can see the difference in machining on these two products and the difference in materials that were used for it. Here, that free floats inside this encasement. On this one, this is fixed in place. The fine adjustment for the Lee is going to be with the main body. After you put this into the press, you're going to have to bring this up, tighten the lock ring, loosen it until you get that just right. On the RCBS, your fine adjustment for the expansion is going to be handled after you've seated this into your press where you want this, and then you can make all your fine adjustments with this. Very easily, you take your knurled knob, move that up, you're going to tighten that. You can get your nice fine adjustment that way. So on the Lee, you're going to actually have to loosen your lock nut and adjust the body of the expansion die up and down for you to get your fine adjustment. So a feature that the Lee has that the RCBS doesn't, this is a really clever feature. You can enter a powder charge directly into this, and when you pull that out, you've got a charged case ready for the bullet to be seated and crimped into place. That you cannot do here. You're going to have to do that operation separately if you have the RCBS dies. Last but not least on these sets is the bullet seating die. Not only do these seat the bullet, but they also have the ability to do a taper crimp at the neck of the case into the bullet cantilever. So both of these dies work just about the exact same way. They have a little bit different materials and slightly different methods, but basically the same result. You have your bullet seating plug right here and here. This one's aluminum, this one is steel. And then it also has a taper at the upper edge of the body. Once again, we also have the lock ring. This is a steel lock ring with a brass set screw. This has the aluminum lock ring with the rubber O-ring for friction. Now here we have our steel lock nut. It's knurled. We'll just take that off so we can take a look at the internals. Spin this down. So now I cannot take this all the way apart without having a flathead screwdriver. The RCBS has these 3 different seating plugs that come with it, so you can tailor make it to the type of bullet that you're seating at the time. I can tell you from experience, none of these work very good for the shot shell plastic cases that you can get for 3D Special. So my hollow points are very flat on these XTPs. They got a blunt nose, so I like to use this seating plug. Now once again, you've got to put a little bit of pressure on it so it goes against the threads. Then you just screw that up, and you can get the rest by hand. So what this allows you to do, but it does require a tool, if you can get your bullet seated to very close to where you want it, tighten that by hand. Then you can make your micro adjustments with a flat-headed screwdriver just by adjusting it like so. Once you get it in its final place, you can crank that down a little bit tighter, and it's going to hold true with very little concern of that creeping while you're setting your bullets. But you can see that the finish in there, once again, is got a very nice machined finish, and that is nice and polished. So on the Lee, you're going to set this where you need it to go, and this is very convenient. But you just take that plug, and you can just adjust that very finely, no tools. It is faster to set this in place than it is to get this one set up to exactly where you want it to be. So speed, this has it. There is no way to lock this into place, but it is an aluminum plug. As it moves, there's not a lot of friction except what's caused by this O-ring that helps keep it in place. This has been lubed so that as the steel and the aluminum interact, that they slide nicely with each other. But you can see by the darkened areas that there is some transfer and wearing of that aluminum, causing that dark residue to build up. I don't think that that's going to be a major issue, but you've also got to be very careful that you don't double thread that when you're inserting that into the steel body. Now, once again, you have multiple parts on this one. You could get interchangeable bolt seating plugs for this, I'm sure. I haven't looked into it. As far as what comes in the kit, you just get the one option. I've only reloaded these and I had no issues with it. You can see, just based on that reflection, you can see the difference in the machining. You can hear a difference. Now, you can kind of see how that light's reflecting. Down in here, there's that little ridge. That is your taper crimp right there. We'll drop that plug down in there. I think what makes me nervous on this is that O-ring causes just enough friction that it kind of makes me just a little nervous. And I can't tell, am I double threading it or is it just the friction of the O-ring? I didn't have any problem with my overall length changing due to this moving. If anybody has had an issue with that in the past, please leave a comment below, or if you've reloaded thousands and thousands of rounds at one go and you've never had an issue, also please let me know. One other item that comes in the Rcbs set is approximately 1/8 of an inch thick. Technically, like on one of these items that I leave my lock ring in there, when I'm doing my 357, I would just put that ring down, tighten that into my press, and it's already accounted for that extra thickness. Or take it out and then it works for 38 special. I don't really use it. It just sits in the kit because it came with it. Can't throw it away, right? Now, one very nice thing about the Lee sets is they do come with a shell holder. It has this little flared end here, which helps when you slide in and out the bullet. So that can't complain on there. There's a clear difference in materials quality and machining on the Rcbs, and they are a little bit more money. You can also see the end result of both die sets, and you determine for yourself. One thing I don't have in here, the Lee sets come with a little plastic powder measure. I don't measure by volume. It doesn't fit into my normal mode of reloading practices. So for me, I just took that out and threw it away. That is why that powder measure is not there. You can see why the Rcbs has a little higher price point than the Lee. You just have to determine which one has the features that you like the best. So in the comments below, let me know which one of these you prefer to use.